Hello and welcome everybody to our webinar for the top panel version 2, the presentation to our new top panel. I'm very happy to see you or to have you all here in the webinar. So I cannot see you, but I'm very happy that you all be here and join this brilliant webinar. So my name is Florian Neuhold and I will guide you today through this webinar. I will take care of the Q&As. So if you have any ideas or any question about the webinars, about the topic or anything else, do not hesitate to type in the Q&As, and after the presentation, we will take care about it, and we'll plan a lot of time to answering your questions and to help you with your needs. Today, our presenter will be Dominick Cosgrove. So I hope he's ready, and we hope you are ready, Dom, to share your knowledge with us. And I would say I give my word to Dominick and hope he is ready.
Hi, Florian. Thank you very much for the introduction. Can you just confirm you can hear me and you can see my presentation, and that's live?
I think now everybody sees you. That's also important, I think, so to see who's presenting, of course. And now I will share your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, we can start.
Okay. So as Florian already said, today's webinar is about our new top panel. Hopefully it's not something that you haven't heard about before, but I wanted to give you a bit more of a deep dive into what we are actually delivering in our new top panel features and functionality. We try and change slides. So as Florian has already said, I'm Dominick Cosgrove. I'm the CTO at WorkPoint, and hopefully I've met a good number of you before. So I like to start with why have we brought in a new version of our top panel. Hopefully you all realize and recognize that the top panel is central to all WorkPoint solutions, and it's shown on every page. It's always been part of the product and it is integral to kind of showing important information to our clients about their business modules and their entities. We want to make sure that it's with the update that we're not only meeting the current needs, but we're also making it future-proof so we can actually meet future requirements as we develop the product. We've taken on board the feedback from our partners and customers on our what we call version 1 or our original top panel in the modern UI. And some of the feedback that we got was it takes up too much page real estate. You know, you can't see much of the page content because with the SharePoint, Microsoft 365, the SharePoint and our WorkPoint top panels, you know, you're 3/4 of the page down before you actually see content. There was a perceived performance issue as well because the page would jump, which was kind of annoying for the end users because they would try and click on maybe a document library or a task list and they would click on the wrong place because the page would jump. And also the actual real estate for the amount of space given to being able to show information about an entity was quite limited. So about a project or about a case or about a customer. So we've also taken the opportunity to kind of improve the performance. You know, we want the system to be as fast as possible and to give the best user experience. We also wanted to make it more modern in its look and feel. So we've given it a facelift or the opportunity to give it a facelift. And we wanted also to give customers and partners more options for configuration. As I said before, we also wanted to make it extensible. So, you know, as a partner, you can take what we have and you can actually really customize it to fit the customer needs. And finally, as I said before, we wanted to make it future-proof so we can add additional functionality to it within the kind of the real estate that we're kind of given from Microsoft Office 365. So hopefully that kind of covers the why we did it. So the next is how we did it. So We didn't want to break anything. We didn't want to stop any functionality, and we wanted to make sure that what the user expects today, they get tomorrow as well. So we want to keep all the existing functionality. We consulted with a number of our partners and customers to get their feedback, as I said previously, but also in the design process. And obviously it's been in our release candidate for a while now, and was updated in our release candidate. So hopefully we got feedback from the release candidate, which actually saw some changes to how we did things based on that. We also looked at how Microsoft are implementing different features and functionality. So we wanted to align with Microsoft, but we also wanted to bring in our own UX and UI sort of patterns as well. We did a lot of prototyping with this feature, so we could actually envision how it would be before we started developing. And finally, we got some very good feedback on the release candidate that saw the changes before we made our final release. So what have we done? So we'll dive into a demo fairly shortly, but we've streamlined the top panel. We have given it hopefully what you consider a modern look and feel. It's as fast as Usain Bolt. We definitely see that it's a lot faster, and even the perceived performance is greatly improved. We're given many configuration options, and I'll dive into these in a bit more in the demo, but with adapted cars, handlebars, being able to put background colors to match themes, etc. And we've also introduced a new web part, because we do recognize that some customers want the information about a project or about a case or an entity front and center. So we've introduced a web part that can be put on a page, so it's on every entity's landing page or homepage. So that's the what. So I can now move on, and I prefer to do demos. So hopefully I can show my demo environment. And I want
it looks good, Dom. So everything is working. That looks
perfect.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you, Florian. So firstly, I wanted to kind of go through what do we have today. So this is our existing top panel, or our previous top panel. You have obviously the entity, or in this case, the project information, and you got your generalized, and you've got your stage model. Depending on what layout of stage model, it changes the format. But then you have the SharePoint navigation below, where it says orange, and you've got important functionality there, which you couldn't get to if you had that hidden, to actually know about who's the members of the group, what emails and what files. So if you had it groupified, this was hidden if you had the SharePoint standard top panel hidden. And also you've also obviously got the Microsoft 365 top panel. So by the time you have 3 layers, or 4 layers in this case, because you've got the navigation, you can see that your page real estate was significantly reduced. And I've got quite a high resolution monitor, but if I maybe had a lower resolution monitor or screen, the page real estate really sort of drops. Obviously there was the ability to hide, but that was very session based, and here I can't see all the information, so I may even have to go and drag down to see all the information. So it wasn't the best experience, and if I did a page load, you can see that it jumps as the page loads. So from an end user perspective, we thought we could do better. So that's what we had previously, and as I say, it's very integral to our WorkPoint solution. The other thing we had was we did have these kind of icons for different members, and we thought we could do better with these face piles. So if I go into the configuration of this existing solution and I go to projects, sorry, not projects, user experience, we've changed the navigation slightly to group all the user experience. So you've got now top panel, my tools, navigation menu and themes all in one area, because our navigation is getting larger and larger. So you'll see that we're going to start grouping things a little bit more organized. So within the top panel, I can see that I'm on the layout top panel version 1. So I've got options here. If I want to stay on the top panel version 1, I can show the header. I can now change the background and the text color to align with corporate themes. But what I hope from today is you'll consider for your customers upgrading to the top panel V2. So the upgrade process is hopefully as seamless as possible. You click top panel V2. You will get this notification because we wanted to make it clear for you that we do a synchronization. What we're synchronizing is actually fixing the height of the top panel. So we do a synchronization, but be aware that it's not a full synchronization. We're only synchronizing the height of the top panel, but we have to synchronize that out to all those eye collections. So you'll be able to see it in the queue. If I click OK here, and I save, you'll see in the job queue manager in a minute. I am running this one on a hotfix environment, so I'm not going to wait and show it, but it will show under the job queue manager. Yeah, here we go. So custom action replication, and you can see that job's running. So that'll run in the background and update this solution. I didn't want to wait for that to finish, so I have another solution on the same tenant that I've updated. So this is our new top panel. Hopefully you can see that it's compressed or streamlined, and now it's really kind of compact, and when I load it, you get this loading experience, and it doesn't do any page jumping. We wanted to make sure that people could see what stage a project was in if you have staging enabled. So here I can see that I'm in a stage with a really long name, just to kind of show that we've kind of thought about how it would appear if you've got stages with long names. So by clicking on this, I open up a card that kind of hovers over our navigation. So we want to make sure that you could still get to the site navigation. So you can get to the site contents or documents, etc. And now we have these tabs available to you with the stage model being front and center. So if I look at, I've got one tab called project information, and this is completely configurable, and I'll show you how to configure it. I've got another tab called project team, which shows more team information. And now you can see that we've actually brought in more people cards type functionality. So I can look at Megan, and I can click on Megan, and I can really start drilling into Megan and see where she sits in the organization. I can see who she works, a bit of information about her. I can see content, etc. So we brought in that sort of functionality within this. And when you have multiple people within a team, you can again start having a look and seeing, okay, Lee, and getting information about Lee. We didn't want to lose the journalizing functionality, because I know that's key to a lot of our customers. So I called it latest activity, but it could be called journalization or journalize. And here I can see my standard journalize functionality, as you know and expect from the previous version. And then I've got three additional ones here. So I've got adaptive. This is an adaptive card, and I'll show you how this is set up, but you can create nice visualizations around the entity information. And then you can also put in actions. So you can say change stage action, or edit, or create document action. Then I created a handlebars, and again, I'll talk about handlebars in a little while, but handlebars is basically a like HTML markup. So you can really get creative if you have internal front-end development capabilities. You can really make this a nice layout. So I've kind of given it a bit of a hover effect with the image of a Java Speak. etc. with the entity information. And then finally, we have the stage details. So I can click on stage details if I want to, but I can also click on any of the stages. So I could go back to planning and it'll show me my stage information, how long it's been in that stage, when it was, who changed it, if it was in a sub-stage, the sub-stages. And also if we go into analysis, I didn't meet a constraint for this stage, so I can actually see what constraints were met or not met at the different stages. And likewise, I can go into the active, which we kind of give an arrow on to show us the active stage, and I can see that when it started, how long it's been in there, etc. And then I can go to future stages, and similar to our current functionality, I can go to the stage closed here, or from here I can go and say change stage. It'll open up our wizards, and I can maybe change it to substage 3 in this case. Save that. And if I go here now, I would hope it shows substage 3. So that's our stage details. Obviously, if you have a long stage model, you can also scroll through your stage model as well to see what stages you have coming up. Apologies about the stage names in this demo environment. And you can, if you have the WorkPoint web parts on, you can also use the apply stage filter. So just checking I've covered everything that I wanted to cover on that. I think I have. Perfect. So I will now jump on to showing how this is configured. So I've shown the enabling, but if I go now to my top panel, I can see that I don't have the ability now to show and hide the SharePoint because we'd introduced jumping, so we wanted to make sure that that was kept. But I can also go and change maybe the navigation color to sort of a slight gray to match my corporate theme. So I can save that. If I come back to my solution, and one thing you'll also notice is we've also moved our WorkPoint navigation, so you can still, it's not overlaying the SharePoint navigation. So I'll just clear my cache, and hopefully it's now, a slightly different grey. Obviously, I'm conflicting slightly with the pill, but you get the impression of what you can achieve. So what I'm going to show now is we've got these tabs, and how do you configure these tabs? So on each business module, and each business module can have its own presentation, I can go to my entity presentation settings. And we have this concept of presentation layouts, and then our details tabs. So at any time, I can go and create a new presentation layout, and I have 3 types: standard, handlebars, and adaptive cards. I'm just going to show a standard for now, and I'll just call it webinar. Maybe on this one, I just want to show maybe a bit of customer information. So maybe last activity, stage, deadline. I'll just show a few fields, and obviously it supports the standard ability to order the functionality, order the fields in the display, and maybe I'll put in the team as well in this webinar. So now I've created this webinar layout. I can go and add that layout to a tab. So here I can go and add a tab, and I can call it webinar. And I can say what type is a journal, stage details, or an entity presentation. In this case, it's an entity presentation. And I can go and select webinar. I can save my tabs. I'll save that. And again, I'll just come in and clear my cache. So hopefully, if the demo works, I now have a new tab called Webinar, and I can see the information that I wanted to show on that tab. So the nice thing about this is rather than showing all the information on one tab, you may want to split it between project information and project team, and you can have multiple tabs splitting out the information so it's not getting too much information and giving the end user information overload. I go back into my entity presentation settings. If you see the latest activity, that's our journal type, but I've given it a different name because in different languages and in different business areas, journal might not mean the same thing. So you may want to change from a standard title, tab title, to maybe something like latest activity or entity activity, etc. Adaptive cards is a technology that hopefully you're aware of, being introduced more and more by Microsoft in Outlook, Teams, etc., as a standardized way of presenting information. So we're aligning with Microsoft's strategy there, so to support adaptive cards. So I've got an adaptive card here, but I'll show you how it's created. So I've got an adaptive card type. So if I go in and edit this, this is a little bit more technical, and we don't expect that all partners would be needing to do this or all customers needing to do it, but we wanted to give that extensibility option. So if I put in entity number 2, what I'll do is give me load the data from that entity. You can see here on the sample data that I have a lot of information about the entity. And on the left-hand side, so adaptive cards works on a template basis. So I have a template created on the left-hand side. When you create your first adaptive card layout, we'll give you a sample template, but the idea is you can go and extend this. So the way I do that is I go to adaptivecard.io and I go into their designer. And here you can get a kind of a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get kind of editing experience. So I can select my sample payload. I'll just select all there and copy that. And I'll put that into the sample data editor. So this will break the one that Microsoft are providing you. But if I select our generic one, or in this case, I've got a custom one, and I can select here and I can paste it in. So here we've got the ability to go in and maybe add a new text block. And I can just say here that I want to show maybe VAT. And I can go and add another text block here. And maybe I want to map that to VAT here. I think it's WP VAT. There we go, WP VAT. So in this case, it's actually an empty value, but I could have selected title. So I could actually put title as a field there. So while it's more technical because you are working with JSON data and you're working with JSON layout and formatting, what it does do is give you a nice extensible way of editing a card or a tab and the layout. You'll notice at the bottom we have a number of card actions. We have change stage, edit, advanced document, and create document, and that these map to down here. So they're called open, like action open URLs. So you can create your own actions here as well. Okay, so that's the adaptive cards, and you can test it. What I will say is the preview down here is not exactly the same as what you get into your final solution. So use this as just more of a test rather than a final preview. So if I show it, you can see that it looks slightly different formatting, and that's purely because our admin center is not within the context of SharePoint and Microsoft Office 365. Whereas here, if I go to my adaptive, you can see what it actually looks like. Perfect. Let's go back. And handlebars is another technology that's commonly used. The nice thing about handlebars is if you understand front-end development, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc., you can really be extensible here, and it gives you even more options than, say, the adaptive cards, because adaptive cards is very much a templating language, whereas handlebars gives you the freedom to kind of lay out as you wish. So you can see here that I've got an example. It might be easier if I show it in Visual Studio Code. I can zoom in a little bit here. Maybe not. No, it's not letting me zoom in, but you can see that it's standard HTML that we're using. The nice thing that you can do is you can start referencing data. So we've got curly brace title, WP project ID. You can also work through arrays, and you can do iterations and things like that. So if you had a project team, you could show a list of all the project team in a nice formatted table. So you have a lot of options in that case. So this is one I did earlier, and if I do a test, it'll show me the HTML output and the layout. I might have messed something up slightly there, but if I go to my handlebars, you can see that it's giving me a nice layout. So one thing that I should make you aware of, and it's in our documentation, is if you want the rich people card functionality, you need to run a PowerShell script. There's an open issue with Microsoft about consent to enable this against the Microsoft Graph. But that's a simple PowerShell script that you just need to run on the tenant to provide consent. But that's fully documented. So please consider that. If you don't have that enabled, you will get a people card, but it'll be a bit more basic than this one I'm showing you here. And finally, I just wanted to say that you don't have to have the same layouts and presentations on each business module. So if I show customers, for instance, and I show the entity presentation settings, here I've only got a default presentation layout, and I've only got 2 tabs. So if I click on the parent, and this is a nice feature as well, I can show the information about a parent, and I can see that I've got only 2 tabs on the parent. Perfect. So I think that's it from a demo perspective. I will now go back to the slides, and then we'll come to the Q&As. So hopefully we can see the slides, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of where we're going with it, and especially what we've got planned to do with the version 1 of the top panel. So the version 1 will remain supported and as is, but we'll only have hotfixes applied. So we don't intend to add any additional functionality to the old version of the top panel. The elephant in the room and the question will be, well, how long will we support? So we intend to support it until the end of next year, but we will inform you well in advance of the end of life and the plan of how we will turn it on if people haven't already turned it on within their solutions. We plan to add additional tab types as well, and give more options of configurations and more layout options, and improve the editing experience of the adaptive cards and the handlebars. And the tab types can be, notifications within an entity, not only showing activity, but other things that are going on within the business module. The next steps are we kind of request you to go and read the support articles related, have a look, see how it's configured, make sure that you enable it in your own internal solutions so you can get familiar with it, see the benefits. Obviously, we want you to enable it in your customers and help them see what the benefits are and why they should move. And hopefully we're giving you that story and the ammunition to kind of discuss and have a good dialogue with them. If they have a test environment, encourage them to enable it on their test environment as soon as possible. We already have a number of our customers who have been requesting this, who have already enabled this on their production solutions. We understand that this is a change. There's a lot of documentation, training videos, etc., that are being produced with the old top panel. So we understand that not everyone's going to be able to go and turn it on tomorrow, but it's important to help your customers prepare for the change and get ready for that change. Hopefully, as I say, I've shown you the benefits of making the change. And most important to us is provide us feedback. It's important that we learn from this experience. We want to constantly improve our user experience, and this is part of that journey. So please provide us feedback. And that's it from a presentation perspective. If there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Dom, for the presentation. It was very nice to see. Also, the demo worked very well, and it was very interesting to see the different, of course. Now it's time, like you said, for Q&A. So if anybody has questions, please do not hesitate to type in. We have already 3 questions, Dom, so I will read it just for you and you can answer them.
Florian, just before we get into the questions, I actually omitted one key part of the demonstration, which I'd like to show.
Okay.
I had a look at one of the questions and it might answer that question. So do you mind if I go back into the demonstration?
That's totally up to you, but I think it's a good idea to show it directly.
Yeah, perfect. Just apologies for me missing one of the key components of this.
I think everybody will say that's totally okay.
So one thing you will have noticed, and I mentioned it at the beginning, was we introduced a new web part. So hopefully you saw during the demonstration that you can see that I have this entity details web part showing. It's actually called the entity card web part or details card web part, where I'm actually showing the stage model and my stage tabs directly on a page within the business module or the entity. This is important because we understand that some of our customers want to have this information front and central, and it was always displayed whenever you went to a page or the home page or any page. So we wanted you to give the option and capability to show this information. We try to make this as configurable as possible. I'm going to do what you shouldn't do, but edit it in an entity just because we have information here. But we have some configuration options. So maybe I only want to show the stage band in this. I've set the height 500. So I just remove that and republish. It now only shows me the stage model, and maybe I want to show only the tabs information. And I might want to fix the height of that to maybe 500. 600 in this case. Nearly there, 550. There we go. And I can republish that. So now I can see my tabs within the page as well. So we recognize we didn't want to remove the information being front and center, but we also didn't want to take up the same page real estate that we used to have to when showing all the information. So obviously it's only a click away, but if you need it on the home page of your business module entities, then you can. So apologies about that, Florian, but I think it was an important thing that I had in my notes, but I omitted.
Absolutely not a problem. I think that's exactly why we make webinars, to see the problems, and then you see the queue or the questions, and then you can answer them. Exactly, that's why we wanted to do this. Like I said before, we have a lot of questions already, so that's very nice to see that our attendees have questions, and we hope for that we can solve the problems or answering the questions. So I would read it just for you, Dominic, and you can answer the question. So the first question is, could you please specify if any of the features or the web parts are licensed separately?
Yeah, so the adapter cards and the handlebars functionality requires our entity presentation feature, or the advanced entity presentation. I can't remember the exact name of the feature, but it does require that license to be included. But if you're just having a standard presentation, then that's supported and doesn't require any additional licensing. So it's really the advanced, I guess, customization capabilities require an additional license.
Perfect, thank you very much. So I straight go on with the next question. The next question is the actions on adaptive cards. Do you have a library of common actions, or should we just build our own?
This is a very good question. So at the moment, it's a standard library. You can obviously introduce your own if you want to. And we'll be introducing our new process management framework in the not too distant future. But the idea will be that we'll have more options in the future. So this is our kind of starting point. But I think the four that I mentioned earlier are the four standard ones: the change stage, the create, document, advanced document, etc. So those are the four that we provide out of the box.
Okay, so next one, you ready?
We
have also any tips for security trimming tabs. Might not want to show the team members or to externals. I know it would be security, but of security, but still. So this is the question. So is there any tips for security trimming tabs?
It's actually a very good question, and something that we don't have at the moment, but it's certainly something that I would love to be put in as a product suggestion. We are looking at the My Tools functionality and putting in audience targeting on My Tools, so you can target what buttons and what actions people can perform based on audiences. And we could take a similar approach to tabs in the future, but it's not something that we support today. I can see the business case of not wanting some users to be able to see maybe sensitive information. I agree that it's obfuscation rather than security, but it could be another way that we just show and hide tabs based on a group membership or something like that. So please, whoever submitted that thought, please submit it as a product suggestion, and I'd love to get that included in the future releases. I can really see the business value of that.
Of course, this is also one thing I wanted to know, say just in time, that if any other questions also not are answering this in the webinar, if you can contact us directly, Dom or me, or also WorkPoint, go on our website or things like this. So, but I will go on with the next question. So is it possible to deploy these configurations in some kind of CI or CD setup?
Yeah, it's another good question, and I can understand where it's coming from, especially considering, you know, if you're wanting to manage the change. It's something I might need to take offline with whoever asked the question. I guess, all of these configurations are stored and managed in the WorkPoint configuration list. So, you could, in theory, manage it through your CDI, CI/CD kind of processes, and manage them directly into the configuration list. But at the moment, from our admin portal, is very much a kind of a manual configuration rather than a continuous integration or continuous deployment methodology. But it'd be something, again, that could be considered. Maybe it's even just downloading as a template and then uploading as a template to kind of manage, rather than doing it all through a configuration options. But yeah, nothing there at the moment, but something that could be thought about.
Okay, so another one, a lot of questions. The presentation has to be very good, so there are a lot of questions, Tom. When using the web part, is it possible to link directly to a specific tab?
Not in the current version of the web part. Again, another great idea, and this is why we want to get these features out, so we get this feedback. And I can again see that maybe the web part, you may want slightly different tab configurations. We have tried to centralize the configuration as much as possible, but I understand that you may not want in the web part to have exactly the same tabs as in the top panel, but at the moment we're kind of effectively using the same configuration as the top panel. So if you put your home tab as project information or stage, whichever is your first tab, that'll be the kind of the default tab. But I can see that it's something else that we could definitely introduce and would add value.
So we have also one additional to the tips for the security trimming question. We have also an additional one to please make it so that the web part can show just a single tab. So this is the question. The sentence they put it additional to the security tab. So I know it would be security but obscurity, but still please make it so that the web part can show just a single bit. I would say, yeah, that's that. I don't know if it's a question or if it's more a suggestion.
Yeah, it sounds like a good product suggestion. Again, consider this as sort of our first release of the new top panel. We'll be, as I say, continuously improving it, and I can see that you might want only the project information, but I think if we have the option to select what tabs you want to show in the top panel, in the web part, you can do that. Obviously, if you only have one panel or one tab that you want to show, a bit like in the master, I've got two here, but I could quite easily go in and remove customer activity, save that tab, and save it there. If I do a refresh here, and I look at it, I've only got one tab, but I can understand that you may want to only show one tab on the web part, but also have multiple tabs up here. So we've got a lot of configuration options that we can enable, but we wanted to make sure that we're getting this functionality out into the market to get these feedback. So that's great. Another fantastic product suggestion.
So I think this was it with the questions, and I think that was very nice. Thank you very much, Dom, for the presentation and also for answering the questions. I think there were a lot of interesting things and also very, very good product suggestions in it. And we will, of course, take care about this and think about this because I think that's totally the way why we are making webinars, to get these suggestions in it. So I want to thank, of course, all the attendees as well to be part of this webinar. It was very nice to have you in here, and I hope we can show you a little bit more about the new top panel. we are very happy if you go on our webpage or something else, partner portal, if you want, contact us. We are totally open, of course, for suggestions and also of questions. So we are very happy to help you in every way we can. So just a small thing from on my side is on the 27th of September, we have a next webinar about WorkPoint and Microsoft Teams better together. So we can show, also Dominick will be our presenter here. So I'm very looking forward to see this and see how our Teams integration works and how we can create benefit for our customers and partners. So thank you very much. And I hope we see us in the next webinars. And once again, I have put it in the QA as well, a Microsoft Forms to get some feedback for our webinars, because we want to improve our quality and we want to improve our webinars. So please fill out this small form. It will take just a few minutes or few seconds nearly. So thank you very much. And thank you, Dom, again, for a great presentation. And I hope that everybody is happy and we see us in the next webinar. So bye.
Thank you, everyone.